my relation with Berlinale started like 2 years ago, and then we came presenting Lois Patiño's The Sober of Stars, which is basically a sonic film. And then last year we presented like feature film Samsara that has this part in between, like 20 minutes, that viewers has to close their eyes. There is an invitation to close their eyes. So this is basically also sonic. And I felt like really appreciated in the festival. And this year we had no film, and then I got this invitation. So, and yeah, in fact, my background is not exactly cinema. I started to work in cinema like, I think first film was 20 years ago. But since then I did like sound design or music composition, or if possible, everything, because I had to separate. As I'm coming from sound art and music, for me, this historical division between dialogue and historical and technical, I understand why there's this division, but I think like in terms of the flow of the film, this division is not so fruitful. I don't know. So in that sense, I don't know, I feel like honored to be here, and I guess, or I hope that I can tell something, no, from the other side, not just in front of the eye, no, that is cinema, but the ears of cinema. I think last year when we were presenting Samsara, Lois Patiño described it quite well. He was saying, answering to some kind of question like that. He said, like, the image is the body, but the soul is the sound. And I think, wow, that's a very beautiful way to make others understand how important is sound in cinema. Okay, we know what, if we talk about silent cinema, we know what we're talking about. Even if we say blind cinema, well, probably something more experimental, yeah. But I sometimes talk with filmmakers about deaf cinema, like cinema that has sound, but they don't listen to their own sound, no? And in my experience, I always try to be there from the very beginning. And I think that's a good advice. And it doesn't, I mean, it's cheap, because you can meet the sound guy even while you're writing the script. And then you can already natively insert some kind of listening, no? And from this sound, you can even define much better the portrait of the object. It doesn't matter if it's a place, if it's a person, if it's an animal, no? Try to listen, not just observe, but to listen how there are the patterns, how this all his or her, or if it's its universe, it's constructed, no? And I think once you do this work during the script writing, for example, then all the rest becomes much more natural. You don't have to explain much more. You have some kind of confidence with the person, with the people that is taking care of the sound. And I think at the end, no matter what kind of film is, you get something, no? You feel something, no? And that's part of our job. And I remember that at the beginning, when I started to make sound for films, it was so difficult to understand some things that, because for example, when you're a musician, your music is the main protagonist, the main character of whatever you do. No? It's just the music, and then there's an image, there is something, or lights, or whatever, if it's a live action or whatever, or live performance. But in film, I think like part of our job is to don't be so present. And I think a lot of filmmakers, especially like contemporary filmmakers, they want to add like give some importance to sound, but everything becomes a little bit like forced, because we don't have such a culture, a strong culture about how we react to sound, how audiences react to sound, not even how cinema theaters react to sound. No, I always say that the films are not of the director, but of the projectionist, because you can make wherever you think like you can spend time, and then there's this guy or this woman or this has just all the power to destroy your film automatically, no? And or the sound system is not properly made or whatever, no? And so I think it's more and more important that even the projectionist can understand what is thinking about. And because we're talking about very human things. I mean, everybody, not everybody makes films, but everybody listens. And we all know that listening means also like, or requires some kind of sacrifices. listening. I don't know if I have to listen your problems. I'm telling you my problems now. Oh, man, no, and then, okay, you have to spend some time, be quiet, and that's a sacrifice, and you're wasting a lot of energy. And sometimes you have this conversation, and when you end this conversation, you are totally exhausted, no? And somehow, I don't know why, when you're making a film, there's not such a sacrifice, and it's so difficult to get this. So somehow, I think as a viewers, we have learned, or we adapted some kind of language, sonic language, that is based on standards. So we are maybe there's a danger to lose on the way some kind of sense of place. And sometimes these sounds that maybe in a reality now, for example, we're talking here and maybe I'm not attending the sound of train, but if I'm just attending the sound of train, I will see okay, it has some special characteristics that I can't find in any other city in the world. So why don't use that? If our film is made in Berlin, no? Not even in Germany, just Berlin, even a neighborhood of Berlin, because it has some kind of architecture, the sound of the train also resonates some other way. You can apply this idea to everything, voices, animals, any kind of sound that is around us. No? When you cut the reality in terms of image, of picture, you can create fictional places, but with sound, you can really, of course, you can create very easily fictional places, but I think that we have a challenge, our generation right now, we have a challenge about how we talk about the world, how we are showing the world. And I think put some attention to noise, for example, that in a shooting is an interference, but it, in fact, is full of meaning. So accepting that as part of our way of being in that place, is very, very important. And so sometimes reality is quite noisy, and we can have a conversation, but if it's in a bar, the music is too loud, so we're screaming. We just maybe can get 50, 60%, but there are a lot of subtle details that we lose because the music is too loud, And film always try to clean all that, no? And I don't know, it's funny that how just little films has conversation that they cross each other, no? It's like, okay, character talk, answer, has an answer, no? And that's not reality. Reality is something else. So if you think about that in terms of 100 years, there is a portrait of reality that is totally fake. It's a manipulation, obviously a beautiful manipulation, and that's fine. We all love cinema, but at the same time, we have to be conscious that everybody watches cinema. I would say right now that more than listening to music, in terms of attention, it's easier to understand, especially, for example, after the pandemics. Like we're at home, and all of us were watching films and paying attention to films, and
it was quiet outside.
And it was quiet outside, no? So I thought at some point that maybe we can learn something from that. Like life is much more dynamic than we think, and we are constantly adapting ourselves to this reality. And this adaptation has to be part of the film language also. And sometimes I miss that. And that's, I don't know, the easiest way to understand that is to think about how can we include noise, as integral part of the way we portray reality.